I'm Mandy Bishop. I'm the product manager of Clarity, and I'm going to go through what's in Clarity 2026, which just released about a little over a week ago. The agenda for today's webinar is we'll talk a little bit about, how far we've come, what we've done in the past years of Clarity, the details of this release with some of the enhancements and themes, like data and business intelligence and secure service accounts and other enhancements. And then at the very end, we'll have a Q&A where you can ask some questions and give some ideas, and we'll jot those down and try to answer you as best as we can. Just to give a summary of the Clarity product over the years, it's been around and it's very well established. We've gone from just supporting Revit to supporting quite a few different integrations through the years, adding AutoCAD support, ACONX, and other like Bluebeam type integrations. We also have introduced enhancements to help you use the product better, such as common task targets, web triggers, task splitting, journal analysis, and different items like that. And we're going to continue along this path with this release, hoping to give you more enhancements and ways to use Clarity better in your own business. In this release, we follow the same patterns of Revit support as we have in the past. For Clarity releases, we have one in November, which is not coinciding with Autodesk releases, but this is the one in the spring, which coincides with the Autodesk releases. So we support the newest release of Revit 2026 and go back 5 versions to 2022. If you need to support 2021, you can run a task server on a 2025.1 release and keep the rest of them at 2026, or however the configuration you want to do, so that you can continue to run tasks against that older project. Also in this release, we have added the support for AutoCAD 2026. Now into the features that we've added for this release. One of the focuses was allowing you to get to your data out of Revit in not just in a project fashion, but a cross-project fashion. We've had project query, but no installed and helpful pre-defined reports. We've added predefined reports this release, and we've added a data section where we'll likely add some things later, but this is the start of giving you a global view of your data over all the projects that you manage. Also in that area is the data viewer, which will give you kind of a searchable, easily filterable view of, what the state of your data is in, like how long ago did you run the database export tasks on your data, and when was it last modified, to kind of give you insight onto, is your data fresh and can you rely on it, or do you need to run the database export and the indexer to see the up and coming and newer data set. Another thing that we've added this release is a template against the project OData for each project. It's the same template to start, but I can foresee that it may be that we might want to configure it to be something different. This template is just kind of a basis for you to start making your own Power BI project template. You can change it and add it back into the system and have it be configured for your company, and it'll automatically download with a link on the project data area in the edit project location of Clarity. The other thing we've added is additional OData for projects and tasks, project definitions, task schedules, task executions, So you can import that into an external tool and kind of make your own insights that are separate from what we provide in the Clarity user interface. For using this, you have to log in and use your Clarity credentials, because you will only get the access of the projects that you have permissions to see when you actually get the data in the, like say, in Power BI. So it is credentials required. I think some of our other external links, it's an option, but in this case, you have to have it. Another project that we were working on this release is the secure service account. This is a new type of connection to Autodesk platform services and your BIM 360 account or ACC account that is designed to be for API connections. We worked with the public beta with Autodesk and worked to be one of the first early adopters of it. It works a lot like a normal OAuth connection, but and you'll find it familiar in how you set it up. But it is slightly different in that it is non-human, and this account is not able to actually log into ACC and see models and files and whatnot. So on the next slide, I'll tell you some of the bigger differences. Some of the pros, you don't have to worry about the refreshing of the tokens. It asks for a new token every time. Again, you don't have to, the SSA user cannot log into ACC and BIM 360. You don't have to, have accounts that are server accounts that you're sharing these passwords around. And it's an actual API connection accountability that's a little more secure. The setup is very similar. You do it just like you would in the add and update credentials area of the server tab of Clarity. And so that makes it quite easy to use. But some of the cons is that you have to add a SSA Clarity app in addition to the existing Clarity app that you already have. To use this, you'll have to have that other app added to your account. And the email name is a little bit long and cryptic, but we've given you a way to show it and copy it quite easily so that if you need to add it to any hubs and projects, you have it at your fingertips. The other last con would be that you're limited to 2 per user. So on your Clarity instance, you can have 2 SSA accounts, and that's the limit. One of the other enhancements that we added this release is a bit more information, gathering a bit more information from the journals that we acquire through the Clarity client add-in. Now we are going to take those journals and not only interpret them for usage and add-ins and different items like that, we're going to use them for showing events in the model metrics graph. So if we see crashes or corruption or something like that in the journal file, it will now automatically populate the data in the database that would be the same as the report model event manual way of reporting events in the past. And so you can see these on the graphs in the model metrics area. This requires the journal service to be running on your host and for you to have Clarity Client installed on your desktop machines. We've adopted this new isolated add-in mode available in Revit 2026. We've worked really hard in Clarity Client and in the task servers to try to bundle and encapsulate our dependencies and needs so that we do not bombard and come into conflict with other add-ins or even Autodesk. I mean, they also use a lot of the same sort of common files, and sometimes there are conflicts in that area. So we've worked really hard to do that, and now they've added this extra layer in the latest Revit Revit APIs for 2026. Again, it's only supported for Clarity Client, and it is complex and kind of a larger change, and because the task servers have so many integrations with BIM interoperability tools and PyRevit and all these other external add-ins and connections, we're still in test with the Clarity task servers because it's a bit more complex. We added a bit of analysis tool to the Revit database export. This will calculate the path of travel from one room to any other adjacent or near room in the same department. So if I show this little video, it will show, this is just kind of a user interface display of what the values mean, but it's an option on the database export that you can turn on, and you can run either intense or a simplified mode. The simplified mode is much faster and much more performant, and it seems to come up with a good result as well. It just doesn't go around corners quite the same as this fancy diagram shows. Other things, we also can allow you to see this path of travel in any SVG views that you have, say, on data sheets in other areas like that. For other task enhancements, we have quite a few smaller, some customer requested, some items that we just feel will help you in the long run. To start, we have the ability to have dynamic folder creation when you have a post-task action and you want to put things in separate folders. The folder creation can be based on what metadata values are passed up to the post-task action. Prior to 2026, we already supported this for Move Copy, but we've added it to ACC BIM 360 post-task actions, BIM 360 upload. For task template assignment, it was we learned that it was quite difficult to do this in a bulk way to find what you wanted to assign. And so we've changed the dialogue and made it a little easier to focus your templates in tags or offices or search terms that are just a little more configurable and quicker to use. We've populated the metadata for description, which is up until this point, we weren't able to get to that value. They've added some extra APIs and functionality in Autodesk platform services, so we can get to that. We cannot write to it still. There is no API for that, but we can get it out of the ACC. Link data help, we've added a few new metrics to know about shared coordinates, to know about if there's a location link that is somewhere that you don't expect, like see user username. On the project homepage, we've now added a publish and modified date and version, and not just the modified date and version, so it can be evident and more understandable about what is the published date and what is the modification date of your models. And we've added a few new types on your BIM 360 project that you can fill in, project type and client. If you want the project type to be automatically filled in via the API, I think you have to reauthorize your project, reauthorize your OAuth for that project, and it should automatically populate that for you, even if it changed and all that. Other enhancements, you can now delete tasks in a claim status if that delete requires, say multiple tasks are in that same Revit instance, and it might affect those tasks as well. You are notified that those tasks will also be affected and confirm that you want to do this. We've added a bit of incremental scanning to the monitoring. A lot of customers have really, really large projects that just take a lot of time, and they want to see their files show up, their new files show up very quickly, and this will help with that because it will only scan what needs to be scanned at that point in time, just a short subset of information. We've added a bit of UI to show trigger history as far as like when the trigger was sent for a particular scheduled task with a web trigger. We've added more OData. The Revit links are now exposed, and some of the imports and some of the project parameters. Database export skip option. This is an option on the database export. If you've ever been kind of aware or had experience with the issue of when you export a model and the type is one type for a parameter and another type in another model for the same parameter name, and we've already created the tables and it causes the conflict. In this case, you can skip it if you don't really care about that parameter. It'll just continue on with the database export so that your task will complete. This release, we added the task sequence API. This has been a common request, and a lot of people would want this to be, would have been asking for this. So basically, you can create new task sequences, you can edit it, and you can find the ones that are already created. For Plant 3D, we've added a option on the UI to load the project XML first, which will help with resolving the DWG files when you're running different types of AutoCAD tasks. And then for Navisworks Converter, we've added a few input locations and output locations, as well as the ability to use the appearance profiler. We've had a couple other projects that are not directly Clarity related, kind of additional projects. One of them is the virtual machine load balancer project. It basically will watch your queue and turn on and off Azure machines as needed. Basically, you just give it some Azure credentials. It runs on your desktop and it watches Clarity and your Azure machines and shuts them down and starts them accordingly. You're welcome. It's not in the install, but if you want to test it, we're happy to let you try. We'd love to see some people see how they like it. And then there's our other product, Clarity Cloud. We've added a couple things lately for that. I just wanted to quickly pinpoint those. We've added new delivery options, multiple delivery options, tasks you can deliver to different folders just as you can in on-premise, but it's something that Clarity Cloud really needed, and now it's in the product. And that's pretty much it as far as what we've added in 2026. It's a lot, but a lot of good things that I think that you guys will enjoy and use. If you have other suggestions or want to give any feedback, these are the ways to get in contact with me and the team. Please join our community at helprace.com. It's a great place to talk to others that use Clarity and get solutions. Thank you for coming. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say for now. And we're going to open it up for questions.
Awesome. So we've got a few questions in our list here, and just for everybody that's in the session here, if you can navigate over to the Q&A panel inside GoToMeeting, go ahead and type anything in there, and as we go through this all, I'll present them to Mandy, and we can get your answers. Now, that being said, please be descriptive any questions that you ask. If you come back and say, hey, a little while back you did something, what was it? That won't help us so much as if you were a little more specific of what the specific thing was that you're asking about. So that being said, the first one that we had in here is just asking for a little bit more clarification on what are SVG views, and then maybe a little bit of the different places that they are actively used inside Clarity.
So SVG views are snapshots of the room and model data that are used in, say, room data sheets is one area where they are displayed. I think if you have a project, it probably already has a sample room data sheet in there where you can see a SVG of the rooms in the actual data sheet. And also you can also see them and access them in the cross project query area.
And regular reports too. If it's a single category report that qualifies as it, you can hit the little button at the top of the report that says show image or something along those lines, where it gives you say a floor plan view of what you've got and some dots where the things in the report are showing up. So SVG being scalable vector graphic, I think, is
Mm-hmm.
what it's, but it just some different places where you can get some, like the picture in the presentation had some simple-ish displays of your geometry in Revit. Cool. I'll take part of this one. The next question was, can we send a link on how to upgrade from 2024 to 2026 Clarity? I'll say that the first part is you should have received an email from us, from IMAGINiT, saying, hey, 2026 is out. Here's your download links, authorization codes, fun things like that. If you have not, please reach out to your IMAGINiT account executive and let's work with them to make sure that we've got the right points of contact inside your account and then we're sending the emails to the right places. Just make sure we've got all that right. Once you've got that done and you go to download the installer for Clarity 2026, inside the zip file that you download is going to be a file conveniently named upgrade.txt. And inside that file, we'll have some of the instructions of steps to go through to authorize and upgrade your product to the current release. Whether it's running through and saying, hey, you ought to back up these particular things, and just some good steps through there. Now, if you're going through that process and just things are looking a little weird, again, I'll say let's reach out to us, reach out to your account exec, and see if there's maybe a place where, if you'd like to, where we can lend some assistance on that upgrade process. But the instructions are in that upgrade.txt file, and it's fairly straightforward. It's mostly just running a setup exe on top of your existing installation of Clarity, and that installer will take care of the rest. I don't know if you have anything else that you'd want to add to that, Mandy?
No, that's basically it. There are some videos also that were sent in that email that can go through it if you'd rather see it in video form.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Next question, which version of the desktop connector is Clarity 2026 compatible with?
So this is a common question and theme in that, as they come out with new desktop connectors, we have to determine if we fit their mold because there's no API, and so we use sort of automation of the user interface to allow the selection of the projects. That being said, at this moment we are supporting 1612. But we have tested lately 1614, and I think the very latest one that came out tested pretty well, but that is still slotted to go in a 2025 one update, and it would also be in 2026.
Cool. Database export question. Does the database export skip option notify us of the parameters that are in conflict?
I believe there is something in the log that says what was skipped, yes.
Cool. Is there an intention to release an app for the Procore marketplace? Hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, and yeah, it's not in the Clarity. I mean, we do support Procore in the Unified Sync tool.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that's the extent of our Procore support for Clarity is concerned. I know that there is quite a bit in the Pulse product, also provided by IMAGINiT.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's really, so is this maybe, and to the person that asked this question as we're talking, if I'm totally off base, please throw something in there and correct me. Um, but we don't really have an app to install for integration with Procore for sending files back and forth to the file storage area, like we do have an app to install on the Autodesk ACC side. It's really just using username, password credentials. So that there might be something we could do to say, you know, hey, here's an app for Procore, but it's really going to the main Clarity download, not a thing that has to be installed in Procore for that unified sync to work. Does that sound correct to you, Mandy?
Um, I don't recall exactly how that works. I feel like that we do have to do some sort of company and username and password in the settings, but once it's set up with the authorization, it works similarly to the other integrations, I believe.
Okay. Um, Next one down, and this might be a bit of a rehash and run through again, but the new service accounts. Can you kind of reiterate a bit on that? You know, like in practical terms, what's it for? Why would or how would people use it? Would you recommend that anybody that's got an existing install of Clarity that's running fine move to those secure service accounts? You know, what would be the reasons why somebody would want to do that versus the way that they're going today?
Um, well, I think that the benefit of the secure service account is because it is designed to be an app to app kind of communication. And I foresee that in the future, there may be some way of turning off certain like two-factor authentication on if you ask for it, or, you know, turn off some of the app level permissions to make it slightly more secure. The other reason you probably would not want to do the first approach, which is, you know, just go to secure service accounts and repoint everything to that, is that you would have to go through and put this user into all your projects, which seems like quite a bit of work to get going, you know, so that's kind of a deterrent from adopting it full-heartedly. So.
Gotcha. And those secure service accounts would work for applying to the Clarity host for accessing, polling what projects and files are available. But when we get to applying a user account in Revit to be authorized to launch Revit and perform a task, that still needs to be we'll call it a standard legacy traditional account, so it can pull a Revit license to perform the task.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Next question down here, I'm going to need to ask for some verification. So, Raphael, can we have this information by email? If I could get you to throw back into the Q&A panel of which information you're looking for, that'd be awesome. Thank you. There was a kind of related to the secure service account, but in my follow-up piece to that, but Autodesk began rolling out one-time passcode via email authentication for logging into Autodesk accounts. Is this expected to cause issue with task servers maintaining their login to Revit and ACC?
The two-factor and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
it should work similarly than the way it works now. I mean, you still have to go in and make sure that your desktop connector or your Revit is logged in. I don't know, it lasts 30 days or something like that, or maybe I don't know the exact amount of time. So it's going to be the same, except that you have to do the second part with the two-factor authentication.
Cool. And some clarification on the Procore app piece, in that right now you have to allow Clarity to install the API in the Procore account. Not all customers, clients are willing to do that. So if we have an app, it may make it easier to persuade somebody to install it and make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then from a feature request side, it would also be nice to allow Clarity to upload drawings to Procore. That would be very helpful. We probably need to have a deeper conversation around that road, because are we looking at that as a Clarity thing, or as you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of really wicked cool, awesome things we can do with our Pulse product, separate and outside the bounds of this particular webcast. But that might take a little more investigation to see where we can go there. That being said, that is all of the questions that I am seeing in our Q&A panel right now. So with that, I will say thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and week. Have fun getting Clarity 2026 up and running, and look forward to talking to you later.